please go ahead and take a seat. Let's always begin our session with grounding ourselves. So go ahead and look at me. And just go ahead and place your feet flat on the ground. Okay, I'm going to place your hands in your lap, unfolded. We don't want any closed off body language. And look right at me for a moment. Okay. Nice calming breath. Go ahead and just relax your shoulders. There you go. Relax your jaw. Yeah. Relax your neck. Give your neck a little wobble for me. Just a nice little wobble. Slow, deliberate breaths. Good. And like always, I ask that when we get to have this time together, that it's focused, that we're not thinking about whatever specific daily issues, work, little breakdowns. We can talk about those, but we want to be very intentional about talking about them as opposed to them running the thoughts in our mind. So now, I would like to ask you to close your eyes just for a moment, okay? Let's close your eyes for a moment and visualize yourself. And I want you to say something very nice about yourself. Visualize giving yourself a compliment. It can be small. It's one thing that's interesting. We often think that if we're doing compliments or listing things that they have to be, like on our to-do list, that they have to be these big, grand gestures or achievements, and they just don't. It can be very simple things. A simple thing that you enjoy about yourself. And if that seems difficult, may I offer a few small examples. So, when I see you, I see somebody who is deeply caring, okay? Somebody who is focused on improving themselves. And the fact that you're here at all, most people, the vast majority of people, do not do therapy. They're afraid of it, or they think it's gonna, head shrink and, whatever negative stereotypes there are. But the fact that you are here shows me that you are committed to examining your own life. I think Sheldon Kopp said, all the important battles are waged within the self. And it takes courage, you have courage to come here and be vulnerable with me and see if there's something brighter on the other side. So I see somebody in front of me who is courageous, somebody who's kind, somebody who is who's concerned about being better in the world, being a better partner, friend, son or daughter. Yeah. And so with that being said, are you ready to begin? Okay. Now, I understand you want to talk about dealing with your recent breakup. breakups are, well, they're horrible, okay? There's no reason to beat around the bush. You've invested time into somebody, you know, and time is the one commodity that you and I have that is fleeting, and it's the most important in my experience. Time is the most important thing that you and I possess. And we share our time very carefully, you know, with people. Most people, you know, will only have a handful of deeply meaningful partnership relationships where you're really opening up with somebody and being vulnerable, and then thinking about maybe even, you know, being married or spending your life together with somebody. These are big decisions, and you invested energy, you invested time, you were vulnerable, and when it ends, it can feel like it can be devastating. I know. You feel like, you know, was it me? Was it them? What did I do? What didn't I do? What could I have done more? What could they have done more? And you'll get into this kind of like, it's like a question spiral, and there's no answer. And I'm also, breakups they're painful, and they're also huge opportunities, because no matter what the relationship was, no matter what, even if in your mind it was a horrible relationship, or it doesn't matter, you grew, and you learned, and you participated. You were in the game. You weren't on the sidelines. You were in the game, you know? You stepped into the ring. And it doesn't always work at all. But are you aware of the sunk cost fallacy? Well, the sunk cost fallacy is the common practice of staying on a particular path, or, you know, choosing to, continue in the same negative cycles because you've put so much energy into it that you think it's not worth it to just let it go and cut bait. And many people, myself included, we can all fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy, where just because we've put in time and energy in a certain direction, it doesn't mean that continuing that will be good for you. And in fact, oftentimes, when you just cut the tie and you take a pivot, it may feel like you're losing all of that energy. It may feel like you're giving up on something that you really wanted to make work. And in the end, in my experience, whenever one door of a relationship closes, as long as you are honest with yourself about what worked, what didn't work, when were you not at your best, when was your partner not at their best, how you could have been more effective in communicating your wants and your desires. As long as we do this, and it can be a painful process, it can be very uncomfortable to shine a flashlight onto our own behavior, because I am as guilty of this with my wife as anybody. of behaving poorly, saying something negative, having ego involved. And my wife and I, we certainly have breakdowns, you know. But as long as you're willing to do exactly what you're doing right now, okay? We're just gonna feel the field. We're not gonna withhold. You're just gonna, if you feel like crying, cry. It's completely normal and probably necessary and important that you do so, that you give yourself the space to grieve the loss. It's the loss of time, it's the loss of connection. And that, there's just no easy way to sidestep that. There's no easy way to suddenly, snap your fingers and be over somebody. At least not in my experience. I think people that, quote unquote, can just get over somebody, what that actually is a deep, deep defense mechanism that they have, strengthened over the years. This big layer of like emotional scar tissue that they can just say, yep, I know I'm over this person. Yeah, I spent 6 months or a year or 2 years or 3 years with them, but they're dead to me now. It's like, no, it's not how, in my experience, that's not how humans work. I don't think it's healthy. I think it's it's a interesting kind of, avoidance. And what you're doing, what we're doing together, is taking a close look at what worked in the relationship and what didn't work in the relationship. And you must be rigorously honest, even especially the parts that make you look bad, because we've all done mean, nasty things to the people that we love the most. So first and foremost, you look at me. Can you take full responsibility for the fact that the relationship did not work out the way you wanted? I know. It's very easy to blame. Okay, hang on, look at me. Now, this is not going to feel fair. And it's not even necessarily, see, it doesn't matter. It's not that it's fair or unfair, even that it's true or not true. I'm inviting you to join me on this little journey together as an experiment, okay? Join me on this little experiment. Let's say, and for our sakes, let's just say that you are 100% responsible for the relationship working and failing. Okay, I'm just going to try this on. And if that's the case, if you are 100% responsible, what would you like to do differently? Because every relationship you ever have, you are the only constant. You're it. Everybody has their own baggage they're bringing to the table. Everybody has their own baggage, including you, including me. And the reason I find value in this mental exercise of taking full responsibility is because it doesn't let you be a victim. And as I've said before, there's 1,000 justifications of why you are a victim, and you'll be correct. Great, now what? You know what I mean? There's always a justification for it, but it doesn't leave you with any agency. It doesn't leave you with power over your life. So, again, let's just stay with me on this thought experiment that every relationship you've ever had, the success or failure of it is 100% your doing. Okay? Stay with me. And if that's the case, how were you being that caused it not to work? Were you withholding? Were you not sharing all of your wants, desires, fantasies? You know, it's funny, and I use myself in every example I'm telling you because it completely applies to me and everybody else. A lot of people, myself included, have felt shame or embarrassment around our true wants and our true desires, especially in romantic relationships where now sex is involved, real intimacy is involved, and a lot of people feel shame around their preferences, their desires, their kinks, their wants. And if you withhold those things from your partner, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And that's the scary part about being in a relationship, because when you open yourself up to somebody and they know things that nobody else knows, what if you told them something and they were like, oh my God, you're gross, you're disgusting, how could you want that? What's wrong with you? That thought experiment is like, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to me to have my wife be like, oh my God, Jeremiah, you're disgusting, you're gross, you're awful. Like it's kind of debilitating. And yet we all feel those emotions. And we all protect the inner self, the inner child, from being hurt, from being wounded. And it's something that withholding is one of the saddest, it's just withholding is just it doesn't work. It's not powerful communication. I mean, can you think of any area that you withheld from your partner? Good. Well, I can tell you, I remember my wife and I, we had an interesting discussion one night. We were really deeply connecting and feeling very loved and very vulnerable. And I believe it was her idea. She said, is there anything, any secret that you haven't told me, like any deep, dark secret that you haven't told me? And what's funny is it was right. I knew exactly the secret. I knew exactly the secret I was withholding. And because we trust and we love each other very much, and we were in a very therapeutic space, a very loving, intimate space, I was able to tell her. And I asked her the same question: is there something Like there's a deep, dark secret that nobody knows that you haven't told me. And she said, yeah. And it was hard for her to tell me. This was hard for me to say mine. And when she did, though, the great irony is that, I didn't think it made her bad. It occurred to me as a pretty common, not necessarily common, but not crazy uncommon, that's for sure. And when she told me I could just be there and say, well, you did that and I love you anyway. It's totally okay and I love you anyway. So, can you think of any space there was withholding? And do you think there is any space where they withheld from you? What do you think they may have? I'm kind of going to fantasy land a little bit here. I don't want to spend too much time into mind reading, but do you think there's an area where they were withholding from you? Okay. And now, it's time to close this chapter. It's time to very honestly evaluate the relationship. What you did right, what you did wrong, and what your partner did right, and what your partner did wrong. But what's more important is what you did right and wrong. And it's not that your partner didn't do some really crappy things. And you can say, well, so it's their fault. Well, maybe. This is the best I can give you on that, maybe. I know that many of the relationships that I've counseled, the breakdowns, the people that were just, they were ready to walk out, I was able to sit down with them, and not every time, but oftentimes, get past the fear and the fear of vulnerability and that protectiveness of the ego and the inner child, and start talking instead of speaking pain body to pain body, talking human to human, really connecting. And I'm also very, very well aware that not every relationship should work. I'm incredibly aware of that. There are some things that, like I said with the sunk cost fallacy, you're better off moving on. You're better off getting out of that, even all that lost time, and having a clean slate and letting yourself build back again. Because of one thing that I am sure is true, which is that time heals all wounds. Humans, you and me, have an amazing capacity of compartmentalizing our traumas and things that feel ginormous today can feel like an absolute blip in a week or a month. The thing that we thought was so incredibly important and just like, this is it, this is everything. After time, eventually, you're able to see it with more clear eyes, more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not empathy, detachment. You're able to view it more logically, more rationally. But when we're in the middle of it, that just doesn't seem possible. It doesn't feel possible. You're hurting. You're in pain. You're sad. You're depressed. All the feels, right? And feel all those feels. Don't shame yourself for feeling a type of way. Don't shame yourself for missing them. You're going to miss them at some point. It's going to happen. It's okay. Allow yourself to process the grief, to process the loss. And when you're ready, start allowing the kindness to you come back in. Realize there's a beautiful human sitting across from me who deserves love, which you do, who is beautiful and kind and smart and introspective and above and beyond everything is so worthy of love. You are so worthy of being loved and giving love. And it hurts right now. I know. It hurts. And you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. This is not the end. This is a new chapter. Okay? You're closing a chapter in the book that is your life. And the book that is your life has many chapters. Many, many, many chapters. Each relationship you have with your parents, friends, siblings, cousins, family, everybody. Each one has its own chapter. Now, I would say partnership is probably more important because when you're setting out to create your life, the life that you are causing, the most important choice you will make is your life partner. It is the most important decision you will make. It will affect every aspect of your life. And in the hierarchy of relationships, your partner has to be your number one, period. Full stop. If your partner is not your number one, if your number one is a parent or a child or a sibling or a friend, I would invite you to consider that relationship is not the one. You have to fully choose your partner and make them your number one priority. And as you've realized, it doesn't always work out. And it's okay. It's okay. You didn't waste your time. You haven't wasted your life at all. During this relationship, you grew, you learned about yourself, what you like, what you want. It became more clear what you're looking for. And I certainly would not suggest jumping right back into another relationship. Give it a little time. Allow yourself to grieve. Allow yourself to grieve. And know that when the time is right, you'll get back out there and you'll meet somebody and you will feel in love again at some point. You'll have that wonderful Twitter-pated feeling like you had at the start of this relationship where it's exciting and they're amazing and everything about them is awesome. And you're just in love. You will feel that again if you want to. Would you like that? you get that you deserve that, right? Like, you deserve that kind of happiness. And during the healing process, I am very well aware that you are going to get together with other friends of yours and talk major trash about your ex. And I think that in some ways is probably pretty healthy. It's important part of the grieving process to kind of just, smack talk your ex about, all the reasons they were, lame and stupid and wrong, and I get that. It's an important part of the healing process. And come back to, you are responsible for your own life and your choices, and you have agency. You are not at the whim of other people's wants and desires. You are at the helm of your own wants, and you will find love and be loved again. I have it on good authority. I'm very confident. Okay. Okay. Well, if you need me, you have my phone number. You can set up an appointment anytime you want, okay? Okay. And it's just a new chapter. It's a new opportunity. Yeah. Okay? Focus on that. You have a new opportunity to meet somebody that will blow your mind. Somebody that will just be amazing. Okay? Alright. Hang in there. It's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Just give it some time. Okay? Alright, I look forward to seeing you again real soon.